So today we are going to learn about what load balancing is, and we are going to learn about it in terms of API requests as well as MySQL queries. So first of all, let's see what a load balancing is. What load balancing is. Let's say there is a person who wants to hold a piece of log of 10 kg on his head. He's going to feel all the 10 kg. But if he gets his friend to also share the load with him, now he is going to have lesser load. And if we increase the number of his friends more, he is going to feel even lesser load. This is called load balancing. In this, we are not concerned about the actual load that we're talking about, but we are saying in terms of work sharing. Here, the person was holding a load of 10 kg and that is called work. And this load is being shared by all his friends. Now, in terms of servers, we can say that we have a particular server S, which is getting, let's say, 10 lakh requests per second. And this single server is serving all the traffic of API requests. But this server is going to have its limitation. Once its CPU gets high, it won't be able to take more requests. So in this case, if it gets another server S2, then some of the requests can be sent to this server and the load on this server will be shared by the server S2. So one way of load balancing is if we have a DNS, let's say facebook.com, it is having one IP, 10.100.1.1.1. So all this traffic will be going to this server. Now, if we add another IP, let's say 100.1.1.2, then its traffic will be routed to this more server 100.1.1.2. Now, each IP address costs money. So we don't want to have, let's say if traffic also increases more, we will have to have more servers, let's say 10.1.1.100. That means we have 100 servers here. If we used this pattern, we will be having, or we will be requiring 100 IPs. This is not a feasible thing because each IP costs some money. So what we are going to do is we are going to have some edge servers. For example, fb.com points to, let's say, 100.1.1.1, and for high availability's sake, so that we are not having single point of failure, we are going to add another IP. Let's say this points to, and these are the edge servers to which all the client traffic is going to be received. These edge servers are not going to provide the data from themselves. They are going to provide the data. They are going to transfer the request to the internal servers. So we can scale these servers because they will be doing all the heavy lifting part. And these servers, these edge servers are just the proxy. So what we know is that we don't want all the IP address to point to all application servers, few edge servers. If we are thinking that we're getting more traffic, we can add another edge server and simultaneously add more application servers. So this model of infrastructure is more scalable. But still, how are we going to decide So this is called load balancing. As we need more and more, as the load increases on a particular servers, we are adding more servers like it. As you can see, this is load balancing. Now, for convenience sake, let's assume that we have 5 servers. Let's say we have 3 servers, and all our traffic is coming from these edge servers. So these edge servers have to route traffic to the application servers. They have to load balance the traffic among these servers so that all servers or the traffic is equally distributed among all the application servers. So one of the methodologies that is frequently used is round robin. In this round robin methodology, what we do is first we request this server, then we send the request to this server, and then we send the request to this server, and then again for the 4th request we send to this server, then 5th request to this server, and 6th request to this server, and the traffic or round robin traffic movement to each server is sent so that no particular application server is getting uneven traffic. Another way of balancing the traffic is sticky traffic. So for example, we have this edge server. Let's say these are multiple edge servers and they are sending traffic to fleet of application servers which are doing the actual heavy lifting. Let's say user 1 sends a request to this server, and if we have a sticky load balancing enabled, what we are going to do is we are always going to send traffic of this user to this application server A1. Let's say we get another user which sends a request. We are going to always send this request to this application server A3. Let's say we get another user who sends a request, and it is going to be sent to this server, and 4th server, this, as you can see. Now let's say after some time this user sends another request. Now since we have sticky load balancing, what we are going to do is we are going to send this request to application server A1. Because we have sticky enabled, this is going to send the server to application A1, and let's say if this user sends another request, it is going to be always routed to this server. Now this was sticky load balancing. What we have learned till now is for API load balancing. Now let's see how my SQL query load balancing happens. So your application needs to access a particular database. What you can do is you can give, let's say this IP is 100.1.1.1, and you can mention this IP 100.1.1.1 in your code, and whenever that code executes, it is going to send query to this server. This is perfectly fine for small applications. As soon as your application grows, what you're going to see is that first of all, hard coding a particular IP is going to create problem. For example, let's say this server goes down. What is going to happen? You have to change your code. You have to change your code with the new configuration. Now another server comes up and you hardcode your IP to 10.100.1.1.2, and this is the new server. But this is not a good approach. So what we do is we don't hardcode a particular IP. Rather than, what we do is we take a domain name. So let's say we take mydb.xyz.com and we hardcode mydb.xyz.com. Now this points to 100.1.1.2. So every time or after some time, your mydb.xyz.com is going to ask a particular domain name server, what does it mean? It is going to tell that this means 100.1.1.1.2. And then once your application code has this IP, it is going to send request to 100.1.1.2. Now what happens if your this server goes down? All you have to do is you have to come up with a third server, let's say 100.1.1.3, and change the DNS entry to change this to 100.1.1.3. And as soon as this happens, so the next time your application code asks what mydb.xyz.com means, it is going to respond with 100.1.1.3. So instead of your application sending queries to this server, it is going to send to the newly mentioned server. Now this is how you use domain names in your code to make it more flexible. So let's say you have mydb.xyz.com in your code and it is working perfectly fine. We have a single database. Let's assume this is load balancer, and so everything is working perfectly fine until a day comes when you start getting more and more requests on your servers. So the number of queries that are being sent to your database also increases, and the CPU utilization or the resource utilization on this server shoots up to a very high value. At that point of time, you decide that you cannot have more read queries on this server. So what you decide is, let's add another server. You add another server, and in your domain name server, you mention that mydb.xyz.com now points to two IPs, 100.1.1.3 and 100.1.1.4. So whenever your application asks DNS what is mydb.xyz.com, it is going to send either 100.1.1.3 and some other time it is going to respond with 100.1.1.4. So for what happens is that some of the queries will be sent to this server. So this is very crude form of load balancing, in which you are sending some of the queries to another server using more pointings in your domain name, as in this case. But let's see what is the drawback behind this type of load balancing. This is your application server. Mostly in code, what we do is we have long-lived MySQL connections. What this means is that if a particular request comes to your application server, your code is going to connect to MySQL. The MySQL is going to return the response on this connection that was set up, and your response will be sent. But the connection that was set up is not broken down immediately. It can be reused up till a particular time that you have set. So for example, all other subsequent queries that come will be served through this connection that was previously set up. So for example, if you have two connections, they can handle large number of queries. So for example, request 1 comes, it uses this connection, and then request 2 comes, it uses this connection. Till the time request 2 comes, 1 has been successfully returned with the result. Then another request can use this connection. So what happens with DNS load balancing, DNS level load balancing, is that we will have uneven number of connections, because it just resolves, DNS just resolves the name to particular IP1 and IP2. So there can be scenarios in which, let's say MySQL 1 is going to have 100 connections and MySQL 2 is going to have only 10 connections. So there is going to be a high CPU utilization on this server, and this server may not have very high CPU utilization because it is having very less number of connections. So we need some other way in which we can have more sensible load balancing among the servers. So for that we use proxy SQL. Now what is proxy SQL? This is your application server. It connects to a service or server hosting proxy SQL. It sends request or MySQL query. Proxy SQL understands MySQL queries. It talks in terms of MySQL query protocol. And behind proxy SQL, we have our database servers. So what happens is that it can create, our application is always going to create connection with proxy SQL, and proxy SQL's responsibility is to load balance these queries among the different servers DB1 and DB2. It is going to load balance even if we have 300 MySQL connections with proxy SQL. Maybe DB1 and DB2 can handle these number of requests from 50 connections only. And the main advantage of using proxy SQL is that it load balances perfectly because it understands MySQL protocol. Now, what you're seeing is that once we add this single server, it is going to be single point of failure. If this server, this is a particular server, this can go down any day. So what we need is, we need high availability in terms of proxy SQL servers as well. So for that, what we do is, we add our app servers, we add proxy SQL servers. I'm going to write proxy SQL servers as PS. Our application is going to send requests to any one of these proxy SQL servers, and these servers will be having databases. Let's assume we have two databases. It is going to create connections to two databases. Now, what you see is that here application will have to decide that it is not loading particular proxy SQL server. For example, here application will be deciding, in this architecture, application will be responsible for evenly load balancing queries among proxy SQL servers. So the problem that we saw earlier is happening again. But here we have an advantage. Proxy SQL servers don't do much weightlifting. All the weightlifting is being done by DB servers. And we can load balance these queries using a load balancer. So if we add a load balancer, it is going to route these queries, though not evenly, but it is going to route these queries. So how can we improve this architecture also? What we can do is we can come up with a decentralized proxy SQL architecture in which we have our app server. This is our app server. On the app server, there are multiple processes running. One of the server, this is instance or server. This is application process which is running. On the same server, we are decentrally installing or running proxy SQL servers. So application sends all its database queries to the locally running proxy SQL server on the same instance or same server. Now, this proxy SQL server is going to have configuration of load balancing the queries. This. So in the end, we are going to have a decentralized proxy SQL. How we are achieving decentralized proxy SQL is that we are having a sidecar of proxy SQL servers, proxy SQL process on the application server as itself. Application is going to send all its queries to the sidecar or a process running on the same server, and that proxy SQL is going to load balance the queries among multiple databases that are present on different. So for example, if we have to come up with another application server, it is going to have proxy SQL running on it as a sidecar or a separate process on the same instance, and it is going to send queries and it is going to load balance the queries evenly. So we have even load balancing of queries among the multiple database that we have. This is how we achieve load balancing in SQL queries. Thank you.